Yo guys, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys another anime podcast. This time, it's not one that's based off a manga per se, or an anime original. It's actually based on a light novel per se. I don't really have the usual guys with me like I normally do. I've actually got somebody new here on the channel. I have heard one of their podcasts and they seem like they're pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and let Nate from Elite Alice, right? Elite
Yeah,
Alice. Yeah.
from New Wave Anime Podcast. What's up, everybody? So most people will probably know me from anime Twitter. Before my main account got suspended, I was pretty notorious on there as Elite Alice, pushing the 86 agenda for the past few years. And then, of course, I'm pretty big on my anime list as well, Marinate 1016. In terms of reviews, you guys can check that out. I've written numerous over the years. And then YouTube channels Marinate if you're interested in travel and anime, and I'll talk about a variety of topics. So pretty much a mixed tool bag for me.
And what we're going to be talking about today is the anime adaptation of the light novel series called 86, which is actually pretty interesting because 86 is, I wouldn't say a well-known anime per se. Like it's gotten attention for sure, but it's not like one of your heavy hitters like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, the Big Three, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, or any of those. But some appreciation and some attention for sure. How exactly did we hear about 86? And I'll just go ahead and give my quick little 2 cents on this. So I heard about 86 through word of mouth, through Twitter, right around the time when the manga for Attack on Titan was coming to an end, and I was looking for something that was not quite the same story, but something that had like a similar vibe to it. And a lot of people were like, "Lucky Chi, if you like Attack on Titan, I think you'll really like 86." And I do know it's got some mecha influences to it, and I've seen a handful of mecha animes like Gurren Lagann and Code Geass. So animes like that I thought were really cool, and I was like, well, it's been a while since I've seen a full-on mecha anime, especially in a post-apocalyptic setting. I thought I'll go ahead and check it out, but rather than take the approach of actually watching the anime first, I decided to go to the source material and read the first light novel because I was curious on how it was actually going to be. And after reading the first light novel, that's when I jumped into watching the first core. That's kind of how I heard about 86 and how I got into it. What about you, Nate? How did you hear about 86 and how did you get into the series?
So some backstory, I had kind of taken like a decade or so off of anime because when I got to like middle school, like people were talking about like anime as being kind of childish. Like when I was growing up, anime kind of had like a childlike connotation. Of course, now we know it as a medium is so diverse or whatnot. So when I got back into it after a breakup at the beginning of 2019, I was on the light novel subreddit, and I noticed a bunch of people were pushing 86 like all the time. And I kept saying I was gonna check it out, but I just had other things in front of it. And then eventually later that year I started my master's degree or whatnot. So I had a little bit of free time and I ordered the first light novel volume for it, and I was just instantly hooked. I mean, it was just such a compelling and gripping story from the very beginning. And I later found out that's because the first volume was originally supposed to be like a standalone thing.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it also kind of has, it feels like, the end of the story when you get to it. But, of course they set it up for more later on. And, it was just, I was just gripped from the very beginning. It was such a remarkable story, really. I loved how it mixed politics and racism. And like you said, it does have a lot in common with Attack on Titan. So it makes it very appealing to a lot of people as well.
Definitely. I was just gonna say this. If it was just the first light novel and that's all we got, would you have been content with that light novel? Because I know some people say it's great, but maybe we could get more things out of it. And I think personally for me, I would have been pretty content with the first light novel because it's like you said, it was supposed to just be a standalone story according to it's Asato Asato, right? The is who the author is.
Yeah. So you're asking like, would I be content if it were just the one volume?
Yeah,
I mean, kind of not really because like romance is my big thing. So
that's true.
like I like Fruits Basket is my top one all time. Violet Evergarden my number two. So I like romance. So I wouldn't have really felt satisfied if that weren't really fleshed out or explored.
I can agree on that front. Like if it came to the whole romance department, then yeah, like it would have felt. I wouldn't say undercooked, but it would have felt like there could have been more to explore that dynamic
Exactly.
between Shin and Lena. But given that my expectations for the anime, because I had read the first light novel first, and I was in the same boat as you. Like I was like instantly hooked from the first chapter, and finishing of the first light novel and hearing nothing but praise about the anime, I was like, all right, because I've seen other fandoms and other animes where people hype up a certain thing, and then when you watch, it's like, is it really worth all the hype, or is it just people going like, it's hype just for the moment? When in actuality, it's like, it's okay. But honestly speaking, I was quite surprised with how they were able to adapt the anime because I remember you were mentioning it in the one podcast episode with what you and Eli did about like how they could adapt the material and whatnot, and the fact that they were able to adapt all of the first volume in like the first core just by itself was surprising. Now, I mean, yeah, they took a few liberties here and there from the light novel because I know some of it could be, well, in this case, like exposition dumps, but
Yeah.
I think with how they were able to adapt the material and how they were able to tell the story in the anime, I think they did a relatively great job with it. What about you?
I mean, without a doubt, it's the best light novel adaptation, arguably of all time, certainly that I've seen. I mean, just and 86 is a perfect example of how it's about the staff, not the studio. You know, a lot of times people will see an anime adaptation get announced and they'll be like, oh, I don't like this studio. But really, none of that matters because it's all about who's in charge of the direction. And the director of 86, like, is absolutely, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now, but he's phenomenal. Like, if you look at his CV, everything he's done, I mean, is great. And you could tell just the level of care that was put into the adaptation. Like I mentioned in our podcast episode, you know, a lot of times these adaptations are pretty much just promotional material for the light novel. Like, so
Mhm.
they give you a little bit of a sampler, but they really, to get the full story, you know, you kind of have to go read the light novel. But with 86, it genuinely feels like they want to bring this immensely detailed and fleshed out world to life just in a different medium, you know, not just to promote the light novel, but to genuinely create another way of experiencing the series. And so I just really could not be happier with the job that they did, especially because, like I said, from the very beginning, I've pretty much been reading since the first light novel got a license in the West, and you know, I was just really excited about the prospect of an anime adaptation. I was a little worried that it was A1, but you know, they handled it perfectly, so I couldn't be happier.
That's true. Yeah, and considering that it was from A1, I know sometimes it could be really good and sometimes it could be not in the best department when it comes to
Yeah,
adapting anime. And
SAO is a perfect example of that.
oh, for sure, because I know SAO, like for the most part, I hear they handle things well, but other times I hear when it comes to SAO that they don't exactly adapt everything the
Yeah.
way how it was depicted in the light novels.
Yep. Season one and season two are big examples of that. But the latter half of SAO, like Alicization, they do a good job. But by that point, so many people have dropped SAO or got turned off because of the poor adaptation that the first two seasons got. That like it really didn't even matter unless you were just like the most diehard Sao fan like myself. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, a lot of people would have dropped the story by then, so that sucks. They've got Sao, but then you see 86 and also Kaguya-sama, which they do, which is another like perfect adaptation. So the thing about A1 is that because they're a freelance studio, they have, you know, they get people from all over different studios that will come work on a show. So it really does vary just by team to team with A1. So luckily we got a great team here though. So
We did. And if I remember correctly, I think Asato Asato was, I wouldn't say behind the anime, but I know she was able to give her inputs on
yeah.
a few things.
And that's, I mean, that's always big when the creator is involved in the anime production. You know, it's hard to go wrong there because it's going to be the exact vision that they want. So
I also got to say, the music when it came to 86 was incredible too, because, and it sounded familiar. When I heard the OP, both the OPs, and then I heard like just the background music, I was like, hold on, like the audio and the way how each scene was depicted, it reminded me of Fate Zero, and we mentioned Attack on Titan earlier. It reminded me of the OSTs from like both of those series. So when I looked up who was behind the music, I found that it was Sawano, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with him, but like any, in my opinion, anything he touches when it comes to OSTs, I think is pretty godlike.
yeah, so he's actually my favorite artist like all time. Sawano is pretty much all I listen to all day. So like when the 86 anime got announced, well, even before that, like just when I was reading the light novels, like I could not have imagined the world of 86 being adapted as an anime without a Sawano OST. And you know, I even tweeted like I'm pretty sure it was back in 2019, like Sawano has to be on the 86 OST. I would have liked them to kind of done the opening as well, but the openings were good as they were. But yeah, like because he's done a lot of mech shows in the past. Obviously, he's done Gundam, he's done Aldnoah Zero.
That's another one too. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't think of what else, but like he also did a Galactic, what is it, Legends of the Galactic Heroes. He did some of the OST for that for the modern remake version. But so, you know, just his music style is perfect for the world of 86, and it elevated what was already an amazing story just to even better levels, because when you get a soundtrack that really perfectly encapsulates the mood of a scene, that really just heightens it to, you know, to new levels. So I was really really happy with that, and I'm actually really happy that the OST is finally available in the West now, because it wasn't out officially for like a
for a
year.
while. Yeah.
Yeah, so really hype.
Do you have like a favorite track when it comes to the OST, or do you like just
Yeah,
pick and choose?
Voices of the Court, because that was actually the song that they used with the promotional material when 86 first got adapted, and like, or when it first got announced. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, Sawano on the OST, let's go. Like I
That was
literally,
my favorite one too, actually. Believe it or
yeah,
not.
I literally screamed because I remember the trailer dropped. I was asleep when it dropped, but I woke up at like 9 in the morning because I wake up like for all the seasonals and whatnot on a
Yeah,
schedule. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, let's go. Like it was just perfect. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I like Voices of the Court, and I also like there's like a remixed version that they did for the finale as well that I can't think of right now, but both of those. What about you?
yeah. Voices of the Court's one of my favorite ones too. That I really like. In terms of other ones, oh man, there's one I had at the moment, and then it just slipped. If it comes to the OPs, and I know Solana wasn't exactly super involved with those, but I think they're both really good. But if I had to pick my personal favorite for OPs, it would probably be the second one.
Hmm. Okay. I can't even remember the first one, low key. But I know like Avid is my favorite song of the whole project, which was
Yeah,
that's the first ED, right?
I think so. The
Yeah,
second one was what was the second one called?
yeah, yeah. The
Hands
second,
Up Into the Sky. Yeah,
yeah, Well, there was three total. Those two were for the first core, and then the second core had like a more upbeat one. Yeah, I like both Hands Up to the Sky and Avid, but Avid is like my favorite song. It's probably my favorite song like of right now, probably top 10 all time for me. Like I just love it.
Yeah, Avid and Hands Up into the Sky. I can't say which one I like better because they're both pretty neck and neck.
Yeah.
But what about best episodes? And I think's pretty tough to decide on because I think a lot of the episodes are really really good
Mhm.
especially for an anime adaptation. But if it came to the best episode,
I'd have to go with the final episode because that was the end of volume 3 is like that was the scene that I've wanted to see adapted out of everything the most, like out of any light novel currently ongoing, with them two meeting again in the licorice fields. Like that was just it was perfect, and they handled it, you know. Well, that was the second to last episode, but yeah, they handled it just perfectly.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking more about it, I think I would probably have to go with the last episode too, especially because reading the light novels, I know they did show that scene in the epilogue for the first light novel, and I'm glad, as far as the anime is concerned, that they didn't exactly adapt that scene at like the tail end of the first core. So I thought,
Yeah. Well,
chronologically speaking, it actually made a lot more sense to do it that way.
the reason they did that was because remember they thought it was going to be the one volume, but
That's true.
there were so many people because like I said, like I used to pop into the light novel subreddit like all the time,
Mhm.
and there were so many people who would be upset about that, like, and they would try to give warnings to new people getting into the series, like not to read the afterward. But yeah, they handled that so well.
They did. It kind of ends off in a way very similarly to the first light novel, where if this was all we got, then I
You
think,
okay?
like I said, I would have been content with it. But part of me would have been like, see, knowing what I know past Volume 3, like, we would just only be getting things started with the story.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, that's the mark of a well written story though, when they can each be kind of self-contained and they're each complete on their own. So again, just shows how good of a writer Asato is.
Definitely. What about least favorite episodes? Or we could also kind of jot that on the worst episode too, if that counts for something.
um I can't really think of any that I mean didn't like. I mean, there were some that like they weren't anything to really write home about. They were just they were just there. I guess it would be one of those. I can't really think of any off top. Maybe some of the volume 2 stuff, whereas the slice of life in Giat, that was probably, if I had to pick one that I
Like the
didn't.
first couple episodes of, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just slice of life stuff. Yeah, probably have to be one of them.
Yeah, because it did, like, even though it was pretty faithful to Volume 2, that is probably one of the, I wouldn't even say they're weaker moments, but it was kind of like one of those, like, moments you're like, okay, this is nice, but it would be cool to kind of speed it up just a tiny bit. So it's more of a nitpick than anything.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool because you kind of feel like you feel like the Spearhead Squadron, they're kind of like they don't really feel content in not living that type of lifestyle either, and they want to be kind of back to the action. And as a reader, you also want to be back to the action. So I don't know if that was intentional by Asato Sensei, but if
It's a
so,
nice meta commentary for sure.
yeah, definitely very meta.
What about favorite characters?
Without a doubt, Anju, because Hayami Sayori is my favorite Seiyu. So anyone
Andrew's pretty cool, yeah.
anyone she voices is gonna be my fave. I also like well, we haven't met a couple of the people I like. The anime hasn't got Shiden yet, have they?
I don't think so. He
No.
feels to have been Volume 4, I know that.
Yeah, so I like her a lot. I also like I can't think of her name, but the main Valkyrie that always accompanies the prince. And then I also like Henriette a lot because I have a thing for childhood friends.
Yeah.
being best girl. 86 is one of the few stories where I'm okay with the main ship, but usually most of the times I like the childhood friend to win because I feel like they just get the short end of the stick. But I really like Henriette a lot. I like a lot of her moments in the light novels, the later light novels, especially where Shin kind of like accept their past and basically come to terms with what happened.
As for me, I mean, if we're to exclude Shin and Elena, because I think, well, I feel like those are all so like everybody's favorite character, and it'd be too easy to pick them.
Yeah.
I would say it's either Frederica, because she kind of reminds me a little bit of Psycho from Itoki Ri,
Oh yeah.
especially how she starts out too. 'Cause, like she starts at like super laid back, and then kind of like as the second and third light novel progresses, like she kind of becomes not hard headed, but she starts taking more form of like what's going on.
Hmm. She would also be in mine because lollies go burr. But speaking of Frederica, there's a lot of people in the fandom. I just saw a post on the subreddit because I modded the subreddit the other day. I had to approve it. Where like apparently a lot of people don't like the fact that she's a kid. I don't necessarily know why, but
I've seen that too.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
just weird to me. But I like her as a character too. She's fun comic relief.
If I had to pick another favorite character, I would probably say Raiden's another character I really like too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Always support the wingman
Right,
for sure.
and Kurina, I wouldn't say is my favorite character, but she has moments of being pretty funny too.
Oh yeah, she's cute. Oh, also Kaie, I feel like gets forgotten a lot because obviously she dies in the first volume, but like I liked her a lot as well. I felt like she deserved better.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I feel like when it comes to the anime, like they definitely did flesh out a little bit more on the side characters
Definitely.
than the first light novel. Which I mean, obviously we know why because the first light novel was just intended to be a standalone story.
Yeah, for sure.
Did it do the light novels justice? I would say, well, based on what we've seen so far from the first few light novels, I would say yeah, it definitely did it justice. Even though I know they rearranged a few moments here and there. Like I know the scene with all the girls at the lake happened in chapter 2. I think it was either chapter 2, chapter 3, but I know they rearranged it to where that one happens either before or after when it actually takes place.
Wait, before what takes place?
I don't know if you remember this, but like they rearranged a few scenes here and there, like from the first volume. Like
Oh
like when Di and Theo and I'm blanking on the other one's name too, but they're just like all peeking in on like what the girls are talking about, and then
oh yeah.
yeah, I know that happens like either just before or after
Mhm.
the mission does.
Oh yeah. I can't even remember that. It's been so long since I read that.
It has blanking on something. I had something I was about to say, and then it just slipped.
It happens.
Right. The one detail I know they didn't touch on from the first light novel was how because there was this whole conversation between Lena and her mom, and it was going into her, I think, like being at the age of like finding a partner or whatnot. I mean, I know they touch on that in the anime, but I noticed that scene in particular wasn't there in the anime, which it's a minor thing. It's not like a super big thing. It's like, oh, why didn't they add that in? But
Mhm. Yeah,
I know some people can be like, oh, it needs to be 1-to-1 adapted. I'm like, and personally for me, as long as it's like faithful to what's already there, I'm personally fine with what we get.
yeah. I mean, the main thing that you're always going to lose in a light novel adaptation is the inner thoughts of the characters. But I think again with 86, I mean they did such a good job that even though you may not have got like the monologues. They explained what was going on in other ways that were again unique to the anime medium, and they were able to, again, goes back to what I was saying, like create a unique experience for a different medium, but keeping being faithful to the story. So I think you, if you look at the things that were changed, it's only going to be minor stuff because I mean everything that was major they nailed perfectly.
They
So
did.
really no complaints.
Which I think kind of now gets us to one of our last questions.
Mhm.
Will we get a season 2, and how will it be adapted? Now, my thing on this is they haven't announced season 2 yet, at least as of the recording of this podcast. But if and when it does get adapted, I think they could adapt it the same way they did with this first season, where you did the first 3 light novels, and then the second season could be 4 through 6. Because I know the first or the fourth book is one story arc, and then 5 and 6 is it parallels the 2 and 3, where that's one story arc too, if I remember correctly.
I think those would have to be two separate seasons because I can't I can't remember which. I think it's volume 6. One of them is just like massive compared to the rest of the books.
Oh, really?
I think it's 6 because I'm pretty sure that's the one with the volcano fight with Shin, and yeah,
Oh, right, yeah.
that's definitely gonna have to be like its own season. Or I can't remember it's for the start of the United Kingdom arc.
I think so.
If so, that would be like its own season, that United Kingdom arc. And then, well, they're both part of the same kind of larger arc, but they're like mini arcs. So I think they would have to be split into 2 seasons if you assume they keep the same pacing with 12 episodes.
That's true.
Season 2 and 3, I think, are given how the Blu-ray is sold and given how the light novels have done, season 2 is definitely a formality. I would imagine season 3 as well, probably like what you saw with Shield Hero, getting both of those. A few of us had the expectation that we would get an announcement at the first anniversary celebration that happened like a couple days ago. It was last week, I guess. Didn't get it there, but I'm sure with like no type of doubt in my mind that we will get a season 2 announcement here pretty shortly. It just did too well for it to not
Get an announcement, right?
get an announcement. I mean, and you look at some of the things that have got announcements lately, like Our Feretta, which didn't do that well. So I see no reason why it wouldn't. Future is really bright for 86. So
It really is, yeah. And especially since I want to say the light novels are coming to an end soon, right? I think someone mentioned
there's been
that
some
we're going to
speculation.
be getting to the final arc or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's been some speculation. Nothing official, but it seems to be kind of heading that way.
Which is pretty crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. The another mark of a good writer is knowing when to end the story instead of dragging it on, like having a clear goal in mind. And it definitely seems like Asato has that. But just from my like personal opinion, I think there's still like a decent amount of stories to be told in the world of 86. So even if the main story ends soon, I think you could see like spin-offs and side stories because there's still a lot of
There's a lot you can explore.
exactly. It could be even like Gundam, like the world is so rich and detailed. I mean, there's a whole because there's still a decent amount of time from when the Legion were created to like where the story picks up at in volume 1. I mean, you could do like a prequel there. You could do spin-offs of other like survival groups. So a lot to do in the world of 86.
Yeah. I could see them pull in like a Fate situation where I know Fate Stay Night was initially the thing that came out first, and then you eventually got Fate Zero. So maybe you could something along those lines where the protagonist of sorts could be like Lena's father, and how everything not yeah, maybe you get to how everything led up to where things are currently.
Yeah, I would also like to see a side story on Frederica's Night, Kide. Like I think that'd be a cool
That would be pretty cool.
yeah, a little cool side story. That would probably be like a manga side story type thing. Could even do like slice of life spin-offs of it, kind of like how Fate has Carnival Phantasm and things like that. It's just a lot of opportunities with a really rich world. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see, and I think that wraps up everything when it comes to this podcast of 86 and Nate. It was really great to have you on board and just talking about 86.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Like I was saying earlier, if anybody out there is interested, you can this episode will probably also be on my podcast some type of way or plug there. New Wave Anime Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also hit me up on Twitter. Well, you can't right now, but you can hit me up on my anime list, I guess, Marinate 1016. If you have any other questions about 86 or pretty much anything else. Yeah, it was great doing this podcast with you, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It was a lot of fun tackling this, and we should definitely do more in the future.
Definitely.
And with that being said, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky G7, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Catch you.
Peace.